to where we were the backfield in that 1961 team. Ironically enough, also all four of us, until Doug passed away, all four of us lived here in Jackson. Lived within probably a mile of each other, and our businesses were within a mile of each other. We were friends then and remained friends all these years. So I'm real proud to represent these guys. If you would, go back in time. Some of you I can tell by looking at you. And before I go back in time, I'd like to mention two people that have been special friends and inspiration to me, and that's Coach Harper Davis, one of my coaches in high school, and Jimmy McDowell. Thank you. And I was going to say, I remember some of you in this room were not even born, but if you would go back with me until December of 1958. I was in the high school in class, and the speakerphone came on and said, "Billy Ray Adams, come down to this office now." And I said, "Well, what have I done this time?" So I go down, and there's a gentleman there, and he says, the principal said, "I want you to meet Coach Barney Pooh from Alabama." I promise you, he had hands so big they were like 3 hamburgers. I had to take 2 hands to get around his one hand. But he says, "Billy Ray, I'm Coach Barney Pooh from Alabama." Mind you now, most of the recruiting had already been done, and they were just following up. And he said, "I'm here from Alabama, and we want you to come to Alabama." And I said, "Coach, I don't think I want to come to Alabama." He says, "Why not?" I said, "Well, on my official visit over there, the coach, I think they called him Coach Ears Whitworth was his name. And the students had megaphones and loudspeakers, and they were booing him all during the game." I said, "I don't think I want to do that." He said, "Oh, no problem." Says, he's lost his job. We've hired another guy. And he's from Texas A&M, and his name is Bear Bryant. I didn't have a clue who Bear Bryant was. I didn't really care. But anyway, he said, I said, "Coach, I appreciate it. I think I'm going to keep looking." And he says, "Well, let me ask you this. Have you ever heard of 2 coaches over at Ole Miss, Ray Pooh and Buster Pooh?" I said, "Well, yes, sir, I have." He said, "Well, they're my brother. And that'd probably be a good place for you to go." So that's the end of the recruiting. So anyway, I was very privileged to be a part of some, as we call them, the glory years, there at the right time. And when I reported, there was no limit on what you could sign. I think we signed 55 people that year, players. I was one of 14 fullbacks. And I got there and I said, "Boy, you are really smart. You really made a great decision." But oddly enough, they moved some of them to guard. And so that's the reason our line back in those times were fast, because the coaches kind of patterned their offense after Ole Miss. There was a fullback quarterback attack, and everything revolved off of that. And consequently, they would take the big guy. Anyway, long story short, a lot of them wound up at guard and tackle and linebacker and whatever, defensive end. And I think there's 3 of them in front of me. They flunked out, so I was next. But I was fortunate to play with a bunch of great guys. And again, we've all remained close friends. And we had great coaches, a coaching staff that was together, I think, like 25 years. And Coach Vaught, it was real amazing when I got out of school and I was coaching. I got a call from one of the pro teams that says, no, the college. And they said, "Billy Ray, do you mind sending me a copy of your playbook?" I said, "Excuse me?" He said, "Would you mind sending me a copy of your playbook? We run basically the same type of offense, and I was really impressed. I'd really like." I said, "Well, I can't do that, Coach." He said, "I'm not going to share it with anyone." I said, "You don't understand. We didn't have a playbook." We would go by and Art and Lewis can tell you, if we were going to run learn 3 series of plays, they'd post them on the board, draw them up on the board, and it's your job to go down and see what your responsibility was. And you better know what you're doing when you got out on the field of those plays. Otherwise, your list would be down the line. And we learned to play with injuries back in those days, because if you got hurt, you better not stay hurt long, because again, you drop down the line and you, instead of being third string fullback, you may be the 8th the next day. Then you got to work your way back up. But I'd like to thank the Jackson Touchdown Club for honoring me this Legend Award. I'm very appreciative. I'm very humble about it. Thank you so much.
Our next honoree will be Mr. Art Davis. His hospitality host is none other than the legendary Hopper Davis. I think they are related. And we chose Hopper Davis to do this because he was part of the most illustrious duo of running backs, Shorty McWilliams.